use of voice is nonverbal communication. Let me say that again. The use of voice is nonverbal communication. Well, it's verbal communication in some cases, and nonverbal communication in other cases. Nonverbal communication using voice is referred to as paralanguage. Using the Pocket Guide to Public Speaking, 7th edition, we are going to discuss your voice in delivery. I'm Dr. Heidi. Let's get started. Adjusting your speaking volume. This is important depending on the situation. Your volume is the relative loudness or softness of your voice as a speaker. It is the most obvious of the vocal elements. Proper speech volume is important. It is somewhat louder than a normal conversation, but it is not screaming at the top of your lungs. 3 factors that affect ideal speech volume: the size of the room in the audience, use or not of a microphone, and the level of background noise. You want to be sure that listeners can hear you and adjust your volume as needed. The back of the room should be able to hear you without the front row feeling like you're shouting. I have a loud voice, so I often don't need a microphone. However, when I am speaking to a large auditorium, it is always important that I use a microphone to make sure everybody from the front row to the back row can hear what I'm saying. Vary your pitch and intonation. This makes the speech more interesting. A pitch is the range of sounds from high to low, and it affects the meaning of spoken words. You know, if I'm emphasizing something, that I'll use a different pitch and intonation than I would otherwise. Intonation is the rising or falling of the vocal pitch, and different types convey different meanings. Pitch can convey your mood, your level of enthusiasm, your concern for the audience, and your overall commitment to the occasion. Varying your pitch will allow you to avoid becoming monotonous. And you want to practice with a recording device. I'm not very good at pretending to be monotonous because my voice has a lot of pitch and intonation and other things that make it really interesting or pretty interesting to listen to. But if you want to listen to somebody who is monotonous, look up Ben Stein. Adjust your speaking rate. The speaking rate is the pitch at which you convey your speech. Normally this is 120 to 170 words per minute. You want to pay attention to the audience's reactions. Speaking too slowly will bore the listeners, and speaking too quickly can be confusing. When you are practicing a speech, you want to time yourself while practicing. Do not try to time yourself during your presentation. This will be annoying for an instructor in a college or university class, and it will be annoying for your audience if you are in a business presentation. Make sure you time the presentation, but do it while you are practicing. I am also a professional auctioneer. Auctioneers speak really quickly. Why do they speak so quickly? Well, there's some good reasons for it, and it's all based on the audience. When an auctioneer speaks quickly, they can sell things significantly faster, the audience is entertained, and the audience will buy on impulse. All of these things are important. So why do I tell you this? Well, of course, because you're going to write this down, right? Yes. I learned tongue twisters as part of auctioneering school. Why tongue twisters? Because they're easy to practice and easy to make yourself speak more quickly using different pitch, intonation, volume, etc. So write this down. Betty bought some butter, but she says butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter butter, made her bitter butter, so it's better. Betty bought a bit of better butter. Yes, I've slowed down since I went to auctioneering school, and because I haven't sold things at auction for a little while. But what I said was, Betty bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter batter, made her bitter batter better. So 'tis better, Betty bought a bit of better butter. That also took a lot longer to say than it did as part of my auctioneering chant. Pauses are also important. Now, I don't use many of them when I'm an auctioneer, unless, of course, I'm pausing for someone to make a bid. Pauses will enhance the meaning of your presentation, though, by providing a type of punctuation, emphasizing a point, drawing attention to a thought, and allowing listeners to contemplate a point. Speakers and listeners both need pauses, 1 to 3 seconds, and you want to avoid unnecessary pauses, or vocal fillers is what we call them. So these things include well, and, like, all of those are vocalized pause. Just pause. In the United States, we feel like we need to fill in that space. It is completely unnecessary. Just pause for you to help your brain catch up with your mouth. It is not necessary to say and, well, You want to strive for some sort of vocal variety. Vocal elements should work together to create vocal variety. Vary the elements with enthusiasm to make it sound like you are passionate in your topic, because we know you've put in a lot of time and effort into the preparation. Carefully pronounce and articulate your words. This is important. Pronunciation is the correct formulation of word sounds. Articulation is the clarity with which the sounds are made. Incorrect pronunciation and articulation will distract your audience members. Mumbling is a common pattern of poor articulation, slurring words together, and a low level of volume and pitch. Lazy speeches. Common examples of lazy speeches are for, wanna, gonna, kinda. All of these things are lazy speech. You're actually mushing 2 words together in the English language. To overcome poor articulation, normally I just tell my students to open their mouth wider. Opening your mouth wider, or focusing on opening your mouth wider, will help you do some of these things. You'll practice speaking more loudly, use emphatic pronunciation, put more effort into the articulation, consciously try to say words correctly, practice clear and precise enunciation, and look up unfamiliar terms in an online dictionary with sound files. In other words, when you look it up in an online dictionary, there should be a little microphone or megaphone next to the words so you can click on it and hear it pronounced by someone who's a native speaker of the language. Dialect. We have different dialects throughout the United States, but there are different dialects of people speaking English throughout the world. So you want to make sure that you are using a dialect that is as close as possible to the one that your audience will best understand. Dialect is a variety of languages used by regional and social groups. There are some places you will find this in the United States, using Standard English, Black English, or Chicano English. These are all dialects, and they have rules, and they are all valid, though you might want to target the one that is most appropriate for the group that you are speaking to. You want to use this so that you are sure to be understood. You want to use appropriate pronunciation and word usage. You want to explain any terms that may be unfamiliar to some members of your audience. As I explained, jargon and the use of those large words, bring it down to a level where most people can understand. Don't act like you're demeaning them, but also don't talk over their heads. Using your voice in delivery is an important part of delivering a presentation. You want to make sure that everyone in your audience can hear and understand the information you are sharing. Why? Because what would be the point in them being there if they couldn't understand anything you said?